Greetings and welcome. This is part 2, the 4 hypnotic stages of competence. My name is Hakeem Alexander, HypnoAthletics, exercising your mind. And once again, this is part 2 of the 4 hypnotic stages of competence. In part 1, we talked about the first stage. So again, the 4 hypnotic stages of competence are unconscious incompetence, followed by conscious incompetence, then conscious competence, and finally subconscious competence. And so we've established that unconscious incompetence is a state or the condition of the subconscious and unconscious mind, whereas its current programming is out of alignment with your conscious desires and goals, and that's why it's incompetent. See, incompetence is the inability to operate in a way that achieves some particular outcome or goal that is planned, envisioned, or desired. And so the unconscious, subconscious mind is always running perfectly the programs that have been implanted within it. So it's actually doing something very competent. It's following its programming to the letter, to the T. It's doing the right thing. What makes unconscious incompetence is that it's out of alignment with your stated desires, plans, and goals. And so it renders you incompetent to achieve your goals. You're not able to. You don't have the know-how or the wherewithal. So what we've established then is that is the state of mind. And it's and we can also call that state of mind your familiarity zone. And we have to understand that the familiarity zone that your current subconscious, unconscious programming has created can be changed, but when it's currently in a state that's not getting you to where you want to be in life, it's considered to be incompetent. And so now that we know that and we've established that, we now move to the next stage, which this is about, which is called conscious incompetence. See, now we know the reason why we're not achieving the goals and desires that we have. It's because we have unconscious or subconscious programming that keeps us trapped in a familiarity zone, controlling our behavior to keep us having experiences that are familiar to the programming. The unconscious, subconscious mind, the job of it is to reject all other ideas and messages and information and programming entering into it that would change the behavior. Because as you are now, you're alive, you're surviving, and that is the job of the subconscious, unconscious mind, to ensure your survival by running programs in the background, by running programs that so far have kept you alive. And so this is the familiarity zone that you were once in. And a lot of this contains emotional content. And this is something that needs to be addressed as well. And we'll talk about more about the emotional content when we move to conscious competence. Right now we're talking about conscious incompetence, because you're still incompetent. You still don't know how to exactly make the changes. You just know now what has been causing the problem is that you're existing within in a psychological, metaphysical, unconscious, subconscious way that is controlling your behavior to be incompetent with or out of alignment with the goals and desires that you have in life. So now let's look at some examples of that. I am using the example of actors and entertainers a lot, for very specific reasons that I'm working with entertainers and actors. And the whole thing here is, for example, actors want to get more roles, and especially get roles in movies that will improve their career, basically be good for their public relations, their image, and also make them maybe more famous. Or there are some actors and celebrities that I know who've told me that they want to grow and develop artistically and just become a better actor, become someone who actually becomes a master of their craft. And so that's actually the goal of some people as well. And some people you can have more than one goal as an actor. I mean, you can want to become a famous, very well-known celebrity at the same time as practicing and honing your craft and becoming like a real true artist. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. So but now being conscious of the incompetence is a step towards the right direction, because now you know that the problem has been your subconscious programming, and that involves a lot of emotional content. So now let's begin to move us from the conscious incompetence into conscious competence, which will be the next presentation. So to move from conscious incompetence to conscious competence, we have to begin to identify the things that will help us to become competent or able to make the changes. And so this is likened to if you go on a trip in a car, for example. If you're going to a new destination, you might have the map or the GPS and you have to follow the instructions. Go 100 meters, make a left, go 1,000 meters, turn right, so on and so forth. And you're very conscious and aware of focusing on the details of the instructions that are being given to you so that you can get to your destination. And you may do this a few times depending on, where this new destination is. You have to focus on it. You have to follow the instructions until after a while, when you've been going to that same location for some time, then you no longer have to be very consciously aware of it. You do it automatically, and that's when you move into the stage of subconscious competence. But now we're moving from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. So we know what's causing us to fall short of succeeding in our goals. And so, and of course, once again, this repetition is so important. It's that we are existing within a frame of mind, a familiarity zone that is dominated by programming from the subconscious mind that is keeping us within a certain frame And the frame has, borders, boundaries, a certain ceiling of how much success or money or health or happiness you'll have, and a certain floor of how low you'll allow that to get before you take action. So the ceiling is a certain point that if you go past it, you'll sabotage to get back within your familiarity zone, and the floor is a point at which if you go below that, you'll scramble to get back within it. And so that's where you are. Okay, and that's what's happening. So you're now conscious that this is what the incompetence actually is, and that you're conscious of now you have to change it. And so the next step then is to find out what are the things you have to do to become competent, to know how to make these changes. And one of the first things is to start to recognize the emotional content of your life. Like, how are you feeling when you approach certain things? So as an actor, when you go to auditions, how do you feel? Are you extremely nervous instead of being excited? Are you scared instead of confident? Are you hopeless instead of hopeful? There are so many things that we'll look at in a very black and white manner. Either you feel good about it or you feel bad about it. And if you're feeling bad about it in some way, and there's a balance, there's a sliding scale. In the middle, you're just kind of on the fence. Like, you feel bad and you feel good about it to a certain extent at the same time. But what's dominating? And so if you're dominating feeling, emotion is not good, which usually has content of failure and disappointment, all things that come along with not succeeding. And that's the emotional content right there. And so now what we have to do is we have to start to change the feeling, change the emotional content. So what you've been feeling and what's part of the incompetence is that what keeps us in a certain familiarity zone is very interesting, is that any time you go past that ceiling, you get a feeling, a bad feeling, because it's your subconscious mind saying, oh my gosh, this new information, this new amount of money, even though it's more money, might kill us. And the same thing happens when you go below it. Like, I might die. And so it's a feeling, it's scared, it's fear, it's not a good feeling. And so that snaps you back in within those boundaries to keep you at a level that you're familiar with. And so now, what our job is to do next, when we discuss conscious competence, this is now where we're really going to talk about the emotional incubation method, because now we know what to do. We need to cultivate and grow the feelings that we always have associated when we do succeed. Those good feelings that we have. The joy, the happiness, the excitement, the appreciation, the gratitude. And then we start to consciously associate those good feelings with our current experience, with the auditions that we go on, with the rehearsals that we're doing, with the acting classes that we're in, and then even when we're actually performing on stage or in front of the camera. So in the next edition of this part 3, we're going to talk about conscious competence. Alright, this is Hakeem Alexander, HypnoAthletics, exercising your mind. Stay tuned.